Here we go. Now I will introduce all these brilliant women that are here tonight to talk to us. Brenda Song, first up, you know her. She is on Running Point, and we got to see her twice in that trailer, thank the Lord. 1.5 times. Krista Miller is here from Shrinking. I believe she should have been in the trailer way more. Wendy McClendon-Covey is here from St. Denis Medical, and the brilliant Abby Elliott is here from The Bear, and I think they know their seats. The microphones weren't working last time because this business, even by accident, silences women. They can't even help it. Abby, you take your time, okay? Claim your space, take your time. We got all the time in the world. Are you okay? Does that not fit, or is this?
It's just the height.
Okay, can women invent shoes? Can women make more shoes? Well, it's Jimmy Choo, it's Manolo Blahnik, it's Christian Louboutin. Can a woman make a shoe line, please, so Abby can win this Emmy without losing an Achilles? Welcome. Welcome. Look, this is kind of wild that I am moderating this in any capacity. So please, when I think about, actors that create incredible characters, especially in comedy, I look back at, and I had said this before, where my favorite performer growing up was actually Leslie Nielsen, and you become an adult and you realize he wasn't really trying to be funny. He's Canadian. Okay, we're not clapping for Canada. This is America. Okay, let's just. They censor my comedy there. That's truly my only qualm. Otherwise, it seems lovely. Now I feel bad. You made me feel bad. You look very nice. I'm sorry. But also, this is America, so just get it together. So as funny women that make these memorable comedic characters, especially in a show like yours, Abby, let's just get straight to it, where it's not so much about making jokes in an unfunny situation or trying to be funny, it's just about being real in a funny situation. You spend so much time trying to get funny and then realize, oh, I kind of just have to listen, which is not my skill set.
No. I had never really done anything as serious as The Bear, and in that, I really had to kind of act and, just like Leslie Nielsen did, be in the moment. And I started in sketch comedy. I really thought that comedy was, when I was starting out, pushing for a laugh and, mugging at the audience, basically. When I started on The Bear, there was so much reacting and just a lot of, taking things in and dealing with all the bills and all the stresses of running a restaurant that. There's so much comedy in that.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And also, I would love to start, I'm sorry to throw two at you and then we'll go down the line, of what makes a memorable character. It seems like kind of a vague question, but whether it's the memorable characters you look to, as a performer, used to look to, what makes a memorable character?
I think for me, what a memorable character would be is just, someone who's extremely dynamic, who has those moments of real, groundedness, and then also a character that can kind of laugh at themselves. I feel like there's a lot more of that now in comedy, and seeing it on TV, just, dimensional characters.
I love that. Wendy?
Hello. Hello. I would say that memorable characters, the answer is always in the opposites. So if there's something really funny about them, there has to be also something very sinister about them. Maybe you play it, maybe you don't, but at least you know that it's there. And there has to be some kind of, if you are playing someone who's terrible, there has to be some kind of warmth that comes from somewhere. For instance, Tony Soprano had those little ducks in his pool, and that kind of set his character up for the entire series, or for me anyway. Well, he can't be that bad. He loves the little ducks, So I would say it's finding those polar opposites within a character.
I feel like TV has also changed. That you would have, a lot of sitcoms, and you do a joke, and during the week, you're just doing one script and getting that joke perfected. And now, for me, it's finding the humor in a character, playing the character and just doing the writing is making it funny. And now, even when I see people mugging and doing a lot of facial things that you would have to do on a sitcom because, they're cutting to you. I don't like it. It's like,
Yeah, it takes you out of it.
yeah, it takes you out of it. The character is funny. I had a scene, not to take up too much time, but
No, we have plenty of time.
I had to do a scene with Harrison, and it was an emotional scene from last year, and I'm asking me advice because I just cheated on my husband. And
But what about the show?
on the show, and I sat with him on a park bench, and Harrison, to work with, he's so subtle, he's so good that he moves just a little bit. If you follow him, your performance gets better because it's just moving in a very tiny ways. So I'm looking at him, gazing at his eyes, moving, and we finished the rehearsal, and my husband's there because I also work with him, and he's like, Krista, you're being a little thirsty. You can't just stare at Harrison Ford the whole thing. You're on a bench, you're unhappy, you'd look away, you'd be embarrassed. I'm like, oh, I can't take the easy way and just let him just make it all happen for me. So I don't know why that story is even a part of any part of your question, but I thought I would say it.
I just want more Harrison Ford stories, to be honest. I think for me, it's coming from a sitcom background, growing up on a sitcom. I feel like I learned comedy backwards, like learning, steering into a joke. And I feel like as I get older, I think it's really about finding the facets of these people. Because I feel like comedy really comes from a lot of pain. We're masking a lot of these characters, and I think finding those layers sort of help build these people. And I don't think it's about being funny. I think it's just about being human, because we are innately, some people, funny. And I think it's, again, it's situational comedy. So I think it's just about trusting, your writers, because I feel like, I always say I'm just a puppet. I'm just saying these lines. I'm standing on a mark. I was like, as an actor, I always I really thought about it. I'm like, someone tells me where to go, what to wear, what to say, where to stand. And where do I find my own sort of autonomy in that? And I think that has been what's really fun as an adult, to kind of just figure out what are the different layers in these characters, and just finding that people are funny and not having to try too hard. I think that's really it. As I try too hard.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's a brilliant insight. First, I would just like to say mugging for camera paid for my house, so don't listen to that. Incorrect. We can't. What you're saying is fascinating, because sometimes I feel like when you make such an impression, when you make such a memorable character, which all of you have done, then they want that memorable character in the next project, and then they want it in the next project, and that's who you are, and then you kind of have to play defense on it and being like, please help me I can't do that same thing again. How do you maintain, and if you're doing these memorable characters, I also think you're giving a lot of yourself to it as well. You're surrendering a lot of your uniqueness and your private sort of reactions to things to make something surprising and funny. How do you, play defense on that when you're in a show? How do you not let them stop you from doing some specific new thing you're trying to do when they're like, just be the thing that I hired you to do, because that's the thing you do? Does that make any sense?
Yes. For sure. About being, you have things that are in your wheelhouse.
Your tool,
that you know that you can do easily, and so obviously we want to pick jobs that you are not in your wheelhouse, that are a challenge, that inspire you and make you different, and you just have to seek them out, because it's, and listen, I had this morning I worked, and it was a really funny scene, and it was in my wheelhouse, and it was really fun. And then, but mostly I don't have that, so.
It's the jobs you say yes to or no to, not about getting into a situation where you then have to play defense,
Yeah.
Wendy? Sorry, we have to share this one mic. It's like a weird orgy.
Yes,
It is.
4 girls, 1
Can I have the phallus now? I mean, it's just like, no, there's no way to have dignity in this business. You're at the Emmy panel, you're gonna win a prize for your acting, and then can I borrow this? It'll never stop.
Okay, I was gonna say something. Okay, so I feel like I got pigeonholed as playing a bitch for a long time. Early in my career and playing sitcoms, I was always cast as this bitch. And then I got a show. I loved it. I was like, it was called Odd Mom Out. I was like the head bitch in it. And
I'm sorry, you mean you like had an opinion and self-respect?
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But I was like a mom, and I was a villain of the character. And not that moms are bitches. So, I mean, sometimes we are, but okay. So, but I think, I really loved this job. I loved the people I was working with. And I was like, how do I make this not cliche? And I think that, going again to what you said of playing against that type, I was like, I'm just going to make her as nice as possible and as sweet as possible. The character is already written on the page. She's already saying these things. What if she does it in this way that's just so nice and so likable? And then make those the best takes that they have, and so they don't have,
That's so genius, because the bitchiest people are like, you look so good. Like they're not,
They're making us look good.
Yeah, like that top is so fun. You're like,
Oh.
Wendy?
I can't say that I've been pigeonholed
Agree.
because no one really cares about what I'm doing. Not until recently, anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I have said no to some things that I thought might put me in send me down the same character path as before. But you drive the ship. You can say no to anything. But also to your point,
I can't say no to my stylist, clearly, but continue.
just do it the way you want to do it. And when they give you notes, say, okay, and then just keep doing it the way
Love
you want to do
it. So the real acting is acting like you're taking a note.
acting like you're taking the note.
Yeah, I love that. And I don't want to get too dorky here, but like, why not? I'm so done with all these terms that, I don't want to be a bitch. I don't want to be a dork. But, what y'all do is such a craft. I know that's a cringe word, but I did want to work on the Roseanne reboot. I left before the tweet. Don't cancel me. I wanted to watch John Goodman and Laurie Metcalf work. Yeah. I wanted to see how these actors made something, with 4 cameras where they had marks and they couldn't move and do any behavior unless it was in that spot. How they made it feel so real and grounded. When you have to, the last row has to hear you. How did they make it feel so intimate and real and grounded? And I wanted to just watch them. One time I came down, this was before a run-through, when the script is never gonna be the one that you shoot. And I'm early and I just kind of want to stalk them and sort of see what they're doing. Laurie Metcalf is in her Steppenwolf hoodie, like moving the forks and opening the drawers, and she's like practicing. And I was like, oh, like this is even the greatest, that's what it takes. And I was just watching these moments she was doing to make such a specific performance. And if it's not too violating or embarrassing, whether it's music you listen to, change your perfume for each character. I know these are dorky, but these people are here to sort of, see you show off, how hard you work to make these. I know we all want to make it look effortless, and I just don't even memorize my lines, but just little things to just show how much work we actually put into this. And as women, it used to be if you put too much work in, you're ambitious, which is gross, but show off your work. Is there any rituals you have? Thank you, I agree. That was a good question.
Rituals.
Or things you do to get into character, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I am so off book, and I'm obsessive about that. I try not to say the lines a certain way when I'm running through them, how I'm gonna say them on the day, so that it just kind of comes out organically. But yeah, I just try to just say the lines as flat as possible and just know them backwards.
Love that.
That's it. It's kind of boring.
I definitely babysit my own space and arrange things the way I want them to be arranged. If I'm going to answer the phone this way, then I need pens over here because the Post-its are here and blah, blah, blah. This stuffed animal would never be friends with that stuffed animal. So, I arrange it, I clean it. In my dressing room, I have my music that only makes sense to me, and then I'm ready to boogie. And I don't talk a lot in between takes if I can avoid it. I like to save my energy.
That's huge. That's so hard to do on a set, to play defense and conserve your energy when you want everyone to like you and you want that's huge.
I'm in agreement about I have to know the text backwards and forwards, or else I can't have fun, and on set. And I have never worked on a show that when we come even in for the rehearsal, no one's holding sides on our show. Everyone knows it backwards and
Wow.
forwards, and so we can play. You know, you can do it 4 different ways because you're not doing it because someone doesn't know their lines. And I'm the music supervisor also on the show, so I use music, you know, driving to and from work of what I think should be for that week
Love
for
that.
every character, and that will also inform what I'm doing. But for me, it's all about the preparation and being super professional, and then and then it's really fun at work. You know, I can talk in between. I can do it because I'm not looking at my lines.
That's genius.
It's very simple.
I feel like I'm the same way. I write my lines out every night. Yeah, because I feel like. Yeah, and I feel like that's the same thing. It's like you don't know what's going to happen on the day, so being prepared. I think the one kind of, I guess, odd thing I do is whatever long-term project that I'm doing, my dressing room, I set it up as if it's my character, like what I believe my character
Love
would like
it.
in that space. So I just, every morning that I step into that space, I usually don't like a lot of visitors and stuff on set, 'cause I'm like, this is my workplace.
Love it.
So it's like, this is like an extension of my office, just so I feel like and I also do a playlist of what I feel like so when I'm driving to work, I listen to the same playlist for the entire season that we filmed, just to
love
sort of
it.
get you in that headspace.
I love it. I just feel like as women and as comics, you know, they say that women, or not women, comedians do stand up or do comedy to control how we're embarrassed, you know? And then sometimes like talking about things, like I do this thing, like we're so ashamed to like talk about the things we do to be good. This is why you're being considered for, you know, for these prizes. And I just want to always in conversations take away the shame of like working hard. It's the biggest insult you can say right now to someone is they're a pick me. They're a try hard. I'm like, I'm the biggest try hard there, and that's okay, you know? I'm curious in a time where, you know, this sounds so boomer, but like, you know, I am dressed like Bjork, I'm not helping things, but I do feel like it's almost like the work starts when you're done filming. It's like you're going on podcasts and you're going on this and you're hey guys, and it never ends. And you're actor, you want to disappear into your character. You want to maintain a little bit of mystery. And sometimes I'm like, how is any actor, you know, able to maintain any mystery? I mean, there's a reason Leonardo DiCaprio doesn't ever do interview. You know, he's at a whatever college meeting his girlfriend, whatever. So he's a busy man. But like Adam Sandler, all these people, like, are there ever times it is our responsibility to do some press and we want people to see what we did? But are you ever like, I can't give more of who I'm not away when trying to promote this character? I want you to believe, Brenda.
I feel that way all the time, and especially coming from, you know, that sort of like, you know, being a child actor, coming through in the Disney like machine, that's so important to them. And I didn't have any social media until like a studio that I was working with. It's like, if you don't have it, then we'll hire someone to run it for you. And that was the only time that I was like, oh, well, I don't want someone to just speak for me. I look at social media purely as work, because for a long time, I never jumped on that train, because it's like, how am I going to make people believe the characters I play if they just know me so well? So it's really hard. I really just use my social for work and for promotional purposes, because also I'm terrible at it. I'm a millennial. I'm terrible at it.
What was your question, Lenny?
I had no idea. Unclear. No,
About doing press. I've kind of reframed it because I'm an introvert and I get my energy, like sometimes I drive home and I am dumbstruck. I can't even speak. I've done emotional things. Bill will come in and go, oh, you know, it'd be fun in that scene if you were sobbing. Okay, so we're going to be doing that. And then I kind of just reframed it. It's just part of my job, and I have to make it fun for myself and sometimes meet interesting people, and I just happen to be on a show that affects people in a certain way, and they tell me meaningful stories, and they don't want a selfie, they just want to talk about it, and I made it work for myself, because you have to. It's part of your job. And so reframe it. Think of how you could do it. But let me just tell you about the socials. I was like, why during the weeks that I'm off is the problem with online shopping? What's happening? And I realized, because I do my Instagram work.
Right.
And I do all my stories for my daughter because she and her friends laugh and think it's so funny. So I do that. And then I want to give back love to people who say things to me. And then there's 3 stylists that say, what are the it girls wearing in New York? And then that's what happens.
Yeah.
That's a problem for me.
It's a problem.
So
with you.
I said another story that really had nothing to do with it.
By the way, we're learning your stream of consciousness artist brain. We're loving this.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I might be a weirdo, and that's fine, because I genuinely like doing the press, but I can't say it doesn't take all the stuffing out of me. And at the end of the day, I have nothing left. So I have a really nice husband, thank God.
Is he single?
Ba-boom! That is how you become a legend, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. No, I genuinely like doing press. That's how you get 2nd and 3rd and 4th seasons of things. But yeah, after I do a lot of press, I have to be alone. Like, don't talk to me. I can't function and wander around, in my bathrobe, just throwing peanuts at the crows outside.
Mine started
I'm
leaving
very
me tools. Are you getting tools? Yes! What did you get? What did you get?
Oh, no.
I got a bottle cap. I got a
whole root system.
No.
Yes.
This
You
is
guys,
huge. We're
get into the crow feeding. It will not disappoint. But
make
enough
sure
about that's another panel.
No, it's this one now. But you got to feed them high so the coyotes don't get them. Learned that the hard way. I know. I did go to a crow funeral. It was pretty big, bigger than the Vanity Fair invite. It's a pretty big deal.
I just went to a dove funeral.
Oh,
outside of
really?
Yeah. It had a nest right outside my bedroom, and I would visit it every day.
Bummer.
And then it was such a bummer.
But the good news is birds aren't drones. Joe Rogan's wrong. I'm glad we learned this. No, but I just mean some press. It used to be you go on Letterman, you go on whatever. Now it's like you're sitting for 3 hours in some guy's garage,
Yeah,
like,
that I don't like.
Yeah, and you're like, they're like, prank call your ex. You're like, I watch my show,
See, I think I do like. So I feel, I'm an introvert as well, and I have learned to accept the press element of things, but I love disappearing into a character so much. I'm super shy, and I think like what you're saying about like games and stuff, those are really fun for me as someone who is very shy. Like, I want to eat hot wings.
Yeah, sure. You want diarrhea at your press interviews.
I'll take it over, a 45-minute podcast.
Yeah. So like Jimmy Fallon, it's like you're just like on a skateboard. Yeah.
Like, try and drink as much water.
If
and
there's not a blindfold
spit it out
on me,
in
I'm not
each other's
going.
faces.
That's
like,
so
yes,
funny.
Yeah.
We're just
but
back-
I still, obviously I like talking about the bear, but it's, I'm programmed.
I also just recently, and you guys kind of heard me talk about this earlier, of like, I just learned about like, being balanced, like we talk about balance, and what I thought was balance was truly mentally ill. And, someone really changed my life when they told me that in order, for art to imitate life, you have to have a life. And so yes, did workaholism motivate me to get a life? Kind of. I just remember feeling that my ability to convey a person or understand a situation was limited by how much I was working, And I'm like, I could play a workaholic great, I could play someone that doesn't have I'm just curious, what are the things you do that feed you as an artist, the things you do that aren't work related that happen to, I just want to kind of celebrate and normalize the idea of really successful women having like lives that maybe aren't just like necessarily your kids, or the things you do for yourself to stay full.
Yeah, I was going to say kids.
That counts. They count.
Yes, they can.
They count.
Yeah.
Well, I kept my side job up until I got the Goldbergs.
So
So I had like an office job that I would do, but I didn't have to go to the office. I could do it wherever I was. So if, let's say I was out on a press tour, I would be back in my hotel room editing my manuscripts and doing whatever. So that kind of was very humbling, and also allowed me to have a steady paycheck always. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have to be desperate about, I gotta get, I gotta get the next stupid job that comes along. I could be a little more selective. And I go to as many concerts as I can.
Love this.
I love live music.
Love this.
And we recently got like the tiniest condo in the French Quarter, so we go to New Orleans as often as we can, and it's like the best balm, you know, because nobody cares what you're doing. Everybody's a freak, and I love it.
Love it.
All right, well, if you love going to concerts, you're gonna have to go. Charlotte Lawrence is starting her tour in August, and she is gonna be in LA, and my daughter's truly great. Okay. Like,
No, she's like legitimately
she's
like
legit.
like a
she
famous
writes
pop
her own
star.
music and plays every instrument, is classically trained.
I don't know if this means you're a great mom or a terrible mom, but
Terrible.
her daughter is
Probably
like
terrible.
incredible.
I will say the one thing. I mean, I'm very into photography.
Cool.
I use old film cameras. Older the better. The clunkier, I do that. But the one thing I do share with Liz is I am the dorkiest rock tumbler, sander. I have a wet saw at my house. I have a wet saw, and then I have a whole machine, so I polish them, and then they go in the tumbler.
I'm not understanding.
No one does.
Like a saw to cut trees or wood?
It's wet, and I cut agates. I love agates. I cut them in half.
Okay.
The reason it was in the show that during the pandemic, Brett Goldstein came to our house, and I had just made the backyard look like our beautiful backyard look just covered in sand and all the machines out, and I was out there in my whole thing and the glasses. And he so didn't know what I was doing. He was like, I don't understand what's happening with it has to be in the show.
Yeah.
So that's a hobby I do. I love to try. I always want to learn new things.
I love that.
I feel like I'm doing with my girlfriends. There's this great book called The Book of Alchemy, and you just start for 100 days. You can pick whatever you want to do: writing,
Love that.
photography, painting, but you do it every day.
Love that.
And we're all doing it. We've all been in.
I love that. That's so sick.
I'll get you it as a present.
Okay, just don't make me paint. It's not where I shine.
You can do what you want. I'm doing writing
Writing, okay.
because it's helpful.
Okay, I love this.
All right, so that's that.
Thank you. Brenda, sorry.
You know, I think I feel like I became a better actor when I experienced life more. So I wouldn't just emulate how it's like, oh, is this what this is how it is to be angry, or this is what heartbreak is. And so when I realized that I had to say yes to life and yes to the things that I love. So I'm an avid reader. I knit a lot. I'm a big crafter. I love my Cricut machine. Like these little things that
What machine?
A Cricut. It's the best, right? I have labels and everything. It's a little like printing machine that you can like print out vinyls, or you can to put on, all of my kids' stuff is like monogrammed.
I don't think AI is taking over, guys.
It.
We're crafting,
it's just me.
we're writing in journals. I feel like we're going backwards.
We kind of are. Well, that's for me, because one of the things that I love about what we do as actors is we take people out of their lives for however long. And so after a long day of work, it's like for me it's reading. That's how I decompress, taking myself out of my, whatever crazy life. But I think that's what's really important is as actors, it took me a long time to learn how to turn it off. And it's about figuring that out, and also enjoying what this is the craziest life. I'm sitting here talking about who does this, And so I think for me, it's just about trying to stay true to myself and saying yes to travel, saying yes to new things that I wish I would have done that in my 20s and not at 37 with 2 kids.
Yeah.
But you know what? You live and you learn. So I think it's just about staying true to yourself and finding what works for you and not being ashamed of it.
I love that. And I love the idea of, yes, get that. She deserves that. Again, another question that might not land great, but I really like to, just highlight, our main job as actors is hearing the word no. That's what happens the most, that's what we navigating the no's. And I'm always just curious, and I've navigated with rejection's God's protection. Every no is closer to yes. Whether that's true or not, who cares? But I was just curious if there were any moments in your career that at the time were devastating and you now look back and are grateful it happened. Or if someone, in the business was a little more toxic, than it is now, you got some feedback that at the time felt limiting or something, and then you realize that was actually your superpower in some way. So I remember going into bless you, Sorry, you're allergic to eloquent speaking? And so I went into this agent when I like had a manager who like worked out of his car in Burbank. I don't even know. And like went to ICM, and I would totally name the agent. I just don't want to make it about him. I'll tweet it later or something. But I don't care. I'm not keeping anyone's secrets. I don't give a shit anymore. But he said to me, thank you. He was like, you're never going to be a leading lady. Like, you're not pretty enough to be a leading lady. No, it's okay. It's okay. By the way,
Read his name now.
But hold on. But he also like looked like the ball in Big Trouble in Little China. It's like someone that is like, if we were out at a bar, like you could not even talk to me, but in this environment, you're allowed to like, if we were anywhere else, I could call the police. But fine. So, fine. And he might have been right. This was the time of like Jamie Presley, just symmetry, And so he said it to me, he's like, you're not pretty enough to be a leading lady. He goes, best case scenario, you could be like a Lisa Kudrow. And little did he know, Lisa Kudrow was my hero. So I walked away being like, what? Like, I got Lisa Kudrow's career. Like, he thought he was crushing me, but he didn't know he was actually giving me the fuel to keep going, And so I'm just curious, if there's any moments like that when you look back and you're like, oh, that thing that I thought was so awful ended up being a blessing, or just how we can kind of all, practice resilience in all of this without getting jaded, without getting angry,
Again, I'll be really quick. There was another project that I booked when I also booked The Social Network, and my agents very much pushed me for the other project. It's like, it's a leading role, it's a big movie, this is amazing, this is it. And I was like, David Fincher is one of my favorite directors of all time. Like, they're like, it's 2 scenes. I was like, but this is what I really wanted.
Yeah.
And my agents dropped me over this decision.
Whoa!
And I was really upset about it at the time because I was just leaving all the Disney stuff. And looking back, I'm like, again, you have to follow your gut instinct because, again, it's your life. It's about your life experience. It's not about the outcome. I've realized now that for me, when I make a project, I'm not making it for the final product. I love the process. I love being on set. I love my castmates. My favorite moments of my job are between action and cut. And growing up on a set, it's where I feel most safe. So I always try to say I don't ever want to do a project that I wouldn't stand on the firing line for, because it's not about the final product. It's about your experience. But yeah, I thought I fucked up at that moment, but I guess I didn't.
Not at all. That's awesome. I think that's one of the hardest things, especially for women, is saying no, and like, I don't even have an explanation of why. The answer is just no. I don't have to defend it. That's been the hardest thing for me, at least.
I don't know. I feel like you do cling on to the moments that you're getting a no from a casting director or the showrunner, and they're like, but you should stick with it. There's little things that you get, like, you should stick with it. You came close to this job. And I remember those people. It's like, you see people fall away. You don't see them anymore in auditions, and someone saying to you, you're on the right track. Mm-hmm. But I also, after I did finish Cougar Town, I had 3 little children. I'd been working the entire time they were little, and I was tired, and I thought, I need to be with my kids. And then, after 3 years, you're like you're forgotten. It's just a weird thing, and then it's starting from scratch. But I don't regret making that choice. I have 3 kids. I haven't seen them also, but you guys know the best thing when you have kids about being an actor. It's really the best thing about being an actor is you can always be like, I don't know if I can make it because my schedule's so unpredictable. It's so the parents thing where they have to listen to the violin. I'm at work. But you usually are, and schedules do change. So
I thought you were gonna say your acting chops help you act like you're having fun hanging out with the other parents.
that happens too.
Tough.
Being 55 years old, what I've learned is that, that's very kind. No one knows what they're talking about.
Right.
If anyone knew the real answers, we would have no problems.
That's right.
So what I've learned is that the first person to say something shitty like you're not pretty enough to be a leading lady, they just curse themselves. They're the first one that will be forgotten.
Yeah.
They're gonna drop off the tree.
Well, Whitney, who's beautiful and funny? You.
This is all. By the way, thank you for taking away the message I was trying to get, which is for you guys. I just mean like this can be a very sick business, you know, and it can make you, it can break you, it can make you stronger. And there's those moments like you're saying where you can find a way to go, I came in second, I should just quit, or you can go like, I came in second. You know what I mean? 500 people came in. You know, there's a mindset that people like y'all have that not everybody has. You know, they might have said stick with it to someone, and they couldn't stick with it.
Listen, if all you want to do is focus on the negatives of this business, but you stay in it, then you're mentally ill. And I'm not saying that I'm not, because I'm heavily medicated and have been for years. But if all you're going to do is talk about like, well, this didn't go my way. Rejection, rejection, rejection. Seriously, how much do you think? Who wants to hear that from you? Who? Your parents? No. Your friends? No. Other actors? No. So you have to figure out why this is fun for you. And to your point, there will be breadcrumbs. Mm-hmm. The right people will say, "Hey, don't give up. I think you're really good." Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know,
And then you go like, oh, I'm taking away from this, that, and then you're working harder on the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I got to make my auditions feel like jobs, you know, that it's work.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that really kept me going, and I remember all of those people.
Also, there's something I started realizing later when I started being on the other side of the camera and people started coming in, as I went, oh, the more you get rejected, the more interesting you are as a person. You don't fit into these two-dimensional characters these guys from Harvard are writing as the sort of like bot setup girl. Harvard, I'm coming for you. I'm done. So, yeah, God damn it. It's enough with you guys. Dorks. We're done. And so, you know, I think it took me a long time to go like, if everyone said yes to me, I must be pretty boring. You know what I mean? I must be a pretty boring person, and like, oh, it's just that I'm gonna get more interesting as I get older, and I just have to either write it for myself or wait till something super specific, or someone writes something for me. That's how specific I am. I'm not generic. This is good news.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, thank you. Correct. That's the correct thing to do.
Breadcrumbs. Bill Lawrence once told me to keep going. In an audition, said, my wife's an actress. I know how hard it is. I was nervous and like shaking, and it was so kind, and I never forgot it, and it was like 15 years ago, so I just wanted to tell you that. Here we are. Like, and I know, it really meant so much to me then.
He's such a nice guy.
He told me to quit. But I didn't listen. Everybody, I hope that I didn't go too long. We're good? Okay, ladies and gentlemen. I hope it's a tie.